The James Wood chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution gave books to a 4th grade classroom at Neale Elementary today. Our Thomas Chase has more.
National Day of Service happens around October 11th. It commemorates the foundation of the Daughters of the American Revolution in 1908. The James Wood chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution gave books to a 4th grade classroom at Neale Elementary School Friday to honor National Day of Service. Susan Nutter is the regent for the chapter.
I want to honor that by doing a project to promote education and patriotism.
For this year's National Day of Service project, the chapter donated historical fiction books to Neale.
These books were, they're historically based and accurate, but the stories are fiction, and it gets the kids involved in what happened at that time period and to learn about the past and how it affects the future.
The chapter has done other projects in the past to help our community.
We donated a bench at the city park this summer to honor patriots that are from the area. We try to recognize people that were involved in the American Revolution, having a meal for first responders, donating to other agencies like the veterans, things like that.
You can find more information about the James Wood chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution on our website, WTAP.com. In Vienna, I'm Thomas Chase with WTAP News. This is Home.